Hello and welcome to Prudent IAS, one-stop solution for all the competitive exams. We are back with another interesting video. Today our topic will be from economy. The topic is poverty. So most of you must be aware which question we are going to tackle today, but all those who have no idea, do join our Telegram group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. There we send all these sample questions in a day advance. So how it helps you? You can send us your model answers, do some peer-to-peer interaction. You can also access others' answers, as well as we'll be evaluating one answer daily at no cost. So without wasting time, let's begin with the topic for the day. Understanding global poverty with special emphasis to India. So nearly 700 million people live on less than $2.15 per day, which is very less seeing the inflation. Extreme poverty has dramatically decreased since 1990s. It is often stated that the argument is made that if we'll compare 1990s, before 1990s and afterwards, then poverty has dramatically decreased. It has. But in truth, when we measure these, then along with decreasing poverty, the inflation is also going, right? The money, the value of the requirement of the money for daily basis for consumption expenditure is also increasing. So yes, poverty has decreased, but this problem is still prevailing. Globally, South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, the main two regions, remain the most affected regions. Poverty's reach extends beyond income. Of course, it covers all the dimensions. It is not just about income. Impacts education, access, health outcomes, and future opportunities. So what is poverty exactly in short? Poverty is deprivation. Deprivation can be of anything. Deprivation of income, deprivation of wealth, deprivation of energy, governance, any basic standard. Deprivation of the basic standard of living is poverty. Looking at the stats in India, as per Niti Aayog, it is very important to know the source of the facts. See, these series are mainly focusing on the model question and answer. So the content which we phrase is as per the question. It will help you in writing the answers. Today I'll be specifically telling you about the facts, the data which you can use while writing the answers. So according to Niti Aayog, Indians in poverty approximately 228.9 million. That's huge. 19.3% rural poverty rate compared to 5.3% in the urban areas. So this means that in rural areas, the poverty is more as compared to the urban areas. Now the hardest hit states in India, of course, Bihar, Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh. So poverty in India follows clear patterns. If you will observe the patterns, then the rural areas suffer more than the cities, because also another factor is location is one such factor, rural areas and urban areas. Second factor is caste. Certain disadvantaged caste face higher rates of poverty, and gender wise, of course, women often bear the heaviest burden. So just looking at a glance, progress and ongoing challenges in India. Yes, India has lifted people out of poverty, approximately 415 million between 2005 to 2021, but still poverty is existing in India. Key programs which the government is taking, we will be looking at these in detail as well. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, MG Narega, PDS initiatives, public distribution system. Now, in children, the malnutrition remains high. 35.5% are still stunted. The barriers are education, job scarcity, and climate threats. So this was just a glance of the topic. Now let's begin with the topic, types of poverty. We'll be doing a very brief discussion. Absolute and relative poverty. Two types of poverty. So absolute poverty is based on minimum subsistence level. Let's understand it by using an example. For example, if for absolute poverty, there's a fixed standard. We fix a standard like passing class class 10th, right? This is a basic fixed standard which we decide. Now we are looking the data for 100 students or 100 people, and we found out that 50 have passed 10th, 50 have not, of course. So the remaining 50 who have not passed in are in absolute poverty. So here what we do is this is the basic standard, and the people who are not crossing this basic standard are supposed to be said in absolute poverty. So it is based on the minimum subsistence level. It is often measured by using the poverty lines by Tendulkar, Rangarajan committee. You have studied about all these committees. So we never measure the poverty. There is a misconception that poverty is measured on the basis of income. No, we measure poverty on the basis of consumption expenditure. If you have any further queries, any difficulty in understanding any topic, do let us know. We will be preparing separate lectures for each subject, each topic in detail. So poverty is based on consumption expenditure. Next up is relative poverty. Relative poverty is when people lack the minimum amount of income which is needed to maintain a standard of living. That is, there's certain standard of living in the society and people are failing to meet that. Focuses on economic inequality and the gap between different sections. If I'll give you example for this, I might be relatively poor to Ambani but rich with comparison to a beggar on the road. So we are making a comparative study. If we are comparing to Ambani, which is the standard, then yes, I'll fall in the poorer category. But if we'll compare with the standard of a beggar on the road, then I'll fall in the richer category. So this is relative poverty. Just in brief, I have explained to you the concepts. What are the causes of poverty? First up is economic, social, political, and educational and health. So usually while studying, try to divide in these factors: social, economic, political, health, education, geographical. Economic factors like low economic growth, unemployment, income disparity, they contribute significantly to persistent poverty. Now agriculture, which employs a large chunk of the population, remains underdeveloped. It is still underdeveloped, which leads to low wages and inadequate social security. There is no such provision of social security in agriculture. Social factors are social hierarchies, the gender gaps, caste, which restrict access to the opportunities and perpetuate poverty among certain marginalized groups. For instance, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe often face barriers to education, healthcare, and employment. So these are some social factors. Political factors are poor governance, corruption, the most important one, inadequate implementation of the schemes. We'll be looking into the schemes as well and how they are implemented, a critical view of the schemes. This has often resulted in inefficient poverty alleviation programs. For example, in some cases, political instability. Like if the government is keep on changing, then schemes are not implemented properly. Neglect of rural areas have contributed to the increasing poverty. Health and education, two very important sectors. Lack of access to quality healthcare. Even today, if you will go to rural areas, you will find that there is lack of quality healthcare. The infrastructure is not at all of bare minimum quality. Then lack of access to education as well will hinder the upward movement in the society, which is the upward social mobility, and it will continue the intergenerational poverty. If you will not be educated, how will you get a job? How will you raise your income? How will you raise the consumption expenditure? And ultimately your children will be poorer and the intergenerational poverty will continue. Malnutrition, infant mortality rates, though this infant mortality rates and maternal mortality rates have gone down, but they are still prevailing. Low literacy rates also exacerbate the poverty cycle. So the major causes of poverty, if we divide into economic, social, political, health, and education, it's easier for you to understand and even write the answers. Next up, we have government initiatives. For all these topics, it's very important because you are going to be an administrator. So it's important to know about all the government initiatives and how that initiative is being implemented, being very critical. But being critical doesn't mean to outrightly reject the whole argument, but develop a balanced thought, a balanced approach. For example, let's take the example of MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Now what it does, it was launched in 2005 and it guarantees 100 days of wage employment per year to rural households, right? Very good scheme, but where it fails is delayed payments, corruption. Because of this, it is not implemented properly, although the site suggests that as of 2023, over 14 crore households were benefited from the scheme. So yes, as per the scheme, 14 crore households were benefited, but was the money actually transferred? Were there delayed payments, etc. is where we need to look into. Next up is very famous Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana aims to provide affordable housing to the urban and rural poor. So it's not just restricted to the rural, but urban areas also it's included. So as per this 2024, the government had sanctioned over 1.1 crore houses with around 75 lakh houses already under construction. So this is the data which we can easily get from the site of PMAY. But when we'll be critical, then we'll write that despite this, there are issues like land acquisition delays, access to basic infrastructure also persist in some areas. So what's the scheme? The basic feature of the scheme, the present data about the scheme, and being critical that how has it been implemented, how is it going so far. Next up is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. It was launched in 2014. The scheme has successfully opened more than 46 crore bank accounts. However, while financial inclusion has improved, no doubt it has improved, but the impact of this scheme and poverty reduction is still limited because of lack of financial literacy and barriers to accessing the credit. So again, the implementation is lagging on financial literacy point. Next up is the National Food Security Act. It was enacted in 2013. It aims to provide subsidized food grains to nearly 67% of the Indian population. As of 2024, it covers over 80 crore beneficiaries. This data is right from the site. So while it has made significant strides, yes, on a positive note, it has made some achievements, but issues like leakages, misallocation and targeting errors, which is very, very common in the distribution scheme, sorry. So misallocation and targeting errors continue to undermine its impact. Next up is very famous DBT. It was also launched in 2013. So what it promises it to reduce the corruption and improve the delivery of subsidies, so that we are just transferring the amount directly in the beneficiary's account, that is direct benefit transfer. And it claims that over 17 lakh crore has been directly transferred to the beneficiaries under various schemes, significantly cutting down the leakages and the pilferages. So these are the major government initiatives, and we have also added the critical analysis of each. So next up is the way forward. Of course, in most of the practical questions, you will be asked to write measures, steps, way forward. So do not just read the topic, but develop a critical perspective also, like an administrator. So what's the way forward? Targeted social protection, which means that data-driven implementation must be done so that the correct beneficiary is targeted. Strengthening the human capital. See all the areas where the implementation is lagging. You can use and write these in the way forward. Strengthening the human capital through quality education and health. Quality education, financial literacy, and ultimately good quality health care, which will lessen the malnutrition. It will help in credit access by financial literacy. Boosting rural livelihoods with sustainable agricultural reforms. Agriculture occupies a major chunk of the population, so ample emphasis on agriculture is the need of the hour. urban poverty management, especially for migrant labor and informal. This gig economy, the migrants, the informal sector also needs some social security. So this is the way forward for the topic. Now, what I have done today is I have brought in some facts on poverty. Now, students often ask from where to get the facts, what are the relevant facts. So you can just take a screenshot, or you can even ask me for the link of the whole PDF in the comment section or in the Telegram group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. It is just an example, not a too exhaustive list, but yes, I have covered mostly all the dimensions. So you can choose any data. For example, on unemployment, the unemployment rate in India was 7.2 as of 2024 as per CMIE. So it's very important to note the source. For example, for gender and caste discrimination, the very good source is UNDP, United Nations Development Programme. Women in rural India face poverty rates approximately 70% higher than men. Next up, the Global Hunger Index, another major source for the facts. 30% of the children under 5 are stunted due to malnutrition. So what I suggest you to do is, for all the topics, especially in economics and other subjects also where facts are required, just maintain one single register. Write down the topic as poverty. Okay? You need not to learn and memorize all these facts. Just write at least 2 facts, the most important ones, which will cover more dimensions. For example, India's global share of poverty, a generic one but very important one. It is as per World Bank. So the source is very important while writing. As per World Bank, India is home to approximately 10% of the world's most poor, with over 360 million people. So this report differs with the report of Niti Aayog. So you need to keep in mind the data and the source. You can take any 2 or 3, just keep it in mind basically. And then you can write the answers easily. You can use these data in introduction specifically. That will enrich your introductions. So on the informal sector employment, informal sector is very much in the news because of the gig economy, the informal sectors. So data about it is very important. Income inequality, gender and caste can be used in various society papers also and other exams as well. In essay also you can use these data. Illiteracy and skill gap. Health and nutrition, again a topic which will cover various parameters, various topics. Natural disaster, again environment also. Human Development Index, the poverty rate. So these are the broad points. It's good for you to know at least 4 or 5, but at least 2 must be memorized for writing the answers. Also, you can send us what more sources, what more resources can be taken in the comment section below. Also, you read daily newspaper. I assume that daily newspaper is very important. So whenever you are reading the newspaper, in the register, maintain one index. That index will cover all the, suppose, poverty, inflation, climate change, right? Next up is some governance issue, right? So while reading the newspaper, just open this index, and if you find any data which is relevant for any of these, open the page number and add that fact. This is the only way of adding the data and facts in your answers, and it is very important to fetch good marks. Next, another slide also contains some data, which is government initiatives. So I have already discussed these initiatives. This slide is specifically for the facts. MG Narega, PMAY, Jan Dhan Yojana, Food Security Act, already discussed, direct benefit transfer. Now the performance and audit report of MG Narega, the CAGS report, very important. Niti Aayog's SDG India Index, again very important source. India Corruption Study from Transparency International. So you can just have a look at it for once. You can even take a screenshot and ask me for sharing more such facts in the group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS on Telegram. I hope this helps you. Next up, the major segment of our video, which is the model question. Let's look at it. Despite significant economic progress in recent decades, poverty continues to be a major challenge in India. This is the statement. Now the question is, discuss the causes of poverty. Very straight, the causes of poverty. The keyword here is discuss. That means just cover all the causes in some brief depth. Then the second dimension is critically examine. Critically examine means do not just write about the content, but the pros and cons of it. The effectiveness of government measures in addressing the multidimensional poverty. Now, when we were discussing the government measures, we were also doing the analysis that where the implementation is lagging. So, in this part, that is critically examine the effectiveness of government measures, you need to write about those only. This is a 15 mark, 250 word long answer. Just pause this video, and as I always say, it will take just 12 to 13 minutes. Write a sample answer yourself. We'll be doing the discussion in the next slide. Either you can do self-evaluation or send us your answers in the group on Telegram or in the comment section. We'll also be helping you with the evaluation part. So let's first know the approach. That is, let's just give you a brief explanation how to understand the question. First part is introduction, where you are required to define poverty. Okay, in very crisp and concise words, just define poverty, its dimensions and significance. If the word limit allows you, then the dimensions and significance, but defining poverty is very important. If you can add data, well and good. Next up is the body. That is the first dimension is causes of poverty, where you will be dividing the causes as explained: economic, social, political and health and education related factors which are causing the poverty. You will be also discussing the issues like unemployment, income disparity, poor governance and social inequality. All come under the causes. The second dimension is the critical evaluation part. You will be addressing this under the separate heading. Evaluate the effectiveness of these initiatives. So what you will do is you will write of government initiatives. You will mention some government initiatives in brief, and then you will analyze the effectiveness in tackling the multidimensional poverty. Also discuss the challenges like implementation failures, the corruption, leakages, and the reach of these programs in the rural and urban areas. I have already mentioned the sources of the data. You can add the sources as well. So conclusion is summarize the need for a more comprehensive, inclusive approach. So yes, you are not outrightly going to reject the whole argument by saying that, okay, there's too much poverty prevailing, government has done nothing. No, just make it a balanced approach, as I'll be suggesting in the conclusion, where you will write, yes, poverty has decreased, but there is still a very need for an inclusive approach, a comprehensive approach. So let's quickly move to the answer. Model answer. This is a structural heading which you need not to write, just for your understanding. A very brief introduction, because we'll have two dimensions to address which will occupy the major chunk of the word limit. Keep introduction very simple. Despite the economic growth, India still faces significant poverty with over 360 million people below the poverty line. So what I have done here is I have skipped the definition part. Why? Because I had hold on a very relative fact. I have stated the source and the fact as well. So if you have the word limit, then you can even add the definition of poverty. But adding facts is very crucial. The body of the answer, as I always say, address each dimension under a separate heading. Each heading needs to be self-explanatory. I am repeating these points for all the new students. Self-explanatory means just do not write causes. That's it. Do not write like this, because causes of what? Causes of poverty. It needs to be self-explanatory. Use uppercase if possible, the capital letters. Or if you are writing in small letters, just underline it, draw a box over it. Leave ample space between introduction, heading and the body of answer for better presentation. Next up is subheadings using economic, social, political, health and environmental or educational factors. Any of these you can write. Then even in the subheadings, if you have any more subheadings, then you can write. You can even omit these. I have strictly followed the factual data. For example, unemployment, 85% of workers in informal sector, 7.2% unemployment rate. So just learn how we are clubbing the facts, but we are not breaching the word limit. In this particular slide, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 9 or 10 facts, right? but the word limit is not breached. The source is also mentioned, the topic is also covered, and the dimension is also addressed comprehensively. So this is one approach of writing the answer. But if you do not have hold on all these facts, what you can do is just write one or two facts, highlight it. How you are going to highlight it? Just underline it, right? For example, the source, UNDP, underline it, okay? And for the rest, you can explain in simple words. We have already done the discussion over the topic, so I won't repeat it over here for wasting your time. I'll just read out the subheadings. Economic factors, unemployment, income inequality; social factors, discrimination, education gap; political factors, corruption, instability; health and environmental factors like malnutrition, natural disasters. You can even write education. So multiple causes are covered over here. Next is the second dimension, which is very important, is critical evaluation. Now often students who have good hold on content, who are very good with the subject knowledge, do not link the content with the demand. What they'll do is they'll just read, okay, government initiatives, and they'll just jot down all the government initiatives. That is not the demand. The demand is to critically evaluate the government measures. How? For example, the subheadings will be accordingly. You will not give subheading as direct benefit transfer. No. If the government initiative is asked, then you are going to write this heading, right? But if the critical evaluation is asked, then implementation issues are there. Limited multidimensional approach, regional disparities, lack of sustainability, and so on. If government measures are asked, only then you are going to write the headings as Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, DBT, etc. Because then it will address. So here, I hope it's pretty much clear to you that you will be writing subheadings as per the demand. Again, if you will add some data, very good. For example, now for CAG, what's missing here? Avoid short forms. Just assume that your examiner is totally dumb. Your evaluator is totally dumb and he or she has no knowledge about any of the short forms. So just write the full form. Comptroller and Auditor General of India's 2020 MG Narega audit report revealed that there is fund mismanagement and delayed wage payments. So, regional disparities as per Niti Aayog's Sustainable Development Goals Index 2020 show Bihar, UP and MP lagging in human development indicators, limiting scheme effectiveness in these regions. Again, for MG Narega, they provide temporary relief but fail to address the long-term poverty without adequate skill development, education, healthcare sector, etc. So because the word limit was limited, so I have stopped it right here. But you can write any of the critical issues. For example, you can write the problem of financial literacy, right? You can write for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana the problem of land acquisition and so on. So just understand, do not focus on the content, but mainly the structure, how you are going to write the subheadings, how you are mainly going to address the demand of the question. The most important part, which often you forget, is conclusion. Do not give this heading as conclusion. Now what happens is often students are confused between way forward, measures and conclusion. See, if the question asks about measures, that suggests some steps or measures to address the problem in the question, then you will give the heading, for example, steps to whatever is the question. And then again you will write a summarizing conclusion. It is very important. For way forward, what you can do is make this conclusion a bit more like way forward, like I have made it here. For example, despite the progress in the poverty elevation, India still faces challenges of corruption, poor implementation and narrow income focused approaches. A comprehensive strategy addressing education, healthcare, infrastructure is essential for sustainable poverty reduction and inclusive growth. So, two important things. First, I have used subject specific key terms. Which are the subject specific for poverty? What can be the terms? Malnutrition, inclusive growth, poverty reduction, and poverty elevation, right? So these are the subject specific terminology. This again, this is concise conclusion falling in the word limit, but it is ending on a balanced, positive note. Summing up the answer, ending on a positive note. So I hope the topic is clear to you all. You have also a rough idea of how to write the answers. You can suggest some other answers as well. I'll be waiting for your answers in the comment section or in the group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. That's it for today. Till then, just subscribe our channel Answer Writing for more answer writing videos, Prudent IAS. Join our Telegram group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. The link of this Telegram group will be given in the description box below. Thanks for watching.